What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Not Entertained Podcast, your home for entertainment, media, and culture. I'm your host, Gentz, and on today's episode, we'll be giving you our personal thoughts and opinions on pre-orders and betas. Back with me for today's episode is Cafe. What's going on?
Yo, what's going on, man?
So, there's a bunch of different ways we can get into this conversation. I think the best way is that we try to tackle it one thing at a time. So, let's just start with a general discussion on pre-orders. Now, from my point of view, I think in terms of the consumers, pre-orders made way more sense 5 years ago when digital pre-orders weren't as prevalent or as assumed as they are today. When there's like a big name title coming out, you want to make sure that you got your pre-order so you didn't have to make a mad dash to your local retailers. You didn't have to Google other places to go to pick up a copy of the game or to find out what other location or city you had to travel to pick up a copy in stock. I'd argue that now digital pre-orders or digital copies in general are the preferred method for gaming purchases just because you don't have to leave the convenience of your home to pick up a copy and there's no limited quantity available online. Plus, you don't have to worry about the maintenance of the physical disc or losing it or someone borrowing it and never returning it to you. But the immediate downside is that you can't resell a digital copy. That being said, in my opinion, I think that pre-orders are not necessary in 2019, but over the last couple of years, retailers and developers haven't really been giving consumers exclusive or desirable downloadable content to offset the quote unquote need for pre ordering. Of course, securing the copy of a game was the main reason to pre order. Aside from that, the expectation was that the consumer would be rewarded for their loyalty to the store they pre ordered games at, but also the developer would reward the customer for their commitment to supporting a new title before the actual release. So, what we've started to see in place of exclusive downloadable content is early access to games days to weeks prior to launch, or access to private or locked betas. And we'll get to betas a little bit later in this episode, but for now, let's just try to stick to pre orders. So, how you feel about this?
Okay, one of the points that you were saying was that back then, pre-orders were different. Nowadays, it seems it would give the game a chance or the company a chance to cement some sales in a game by allowing the people who pre-order to play in in a beta, a late beta of the game, or let's say alpha beta of the game that they've pre-ordered, which does give incentive to buy the game, but at the same time, for the consumer, there is risk in purchasing the game unless you're sure on what you're getting. Then of course there wouldn't be any, but yeah, that there does leave that room for dissatisfaction from purchasing a game early just to access the beta.
So, let me ask you a question. When's the last time you pre ordered a game, if you don't mind me asking?
Last game I pre-ordered was Resident Evil, but I didn't play the demo even though it was free.
Resident Evil 2?
Yes, the remake.
So, in your experience in pre ordering, do you feel like you got anything special, or do you feel like it made sense to pre order the game versus just picking it up after release?
Being that I got standard package, which gave me two handguns, one that was Chris and one that's Jill's. Other than that, I could have went without that. So no, there was no reward in me purchasing that. None that I see the value in.
Now, how about this? When's
Red Dead?
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, although Red Dead Redemption now that was a pretty decent pre-order. I was happy with that one.
Okay.
That was worth it.
So, would you say that your pre order experiences are more or less worth it depending on the quantity of things that you receive for the pre order or the relevance to end game content or items that make aspects of the game easier or more convenient? Or for you, is it just good enough to have a piece of content that nobody else will have unless they pre ordered the game?
Now, that is a very good question. And to answer that, it would depend on the type of pre-order. Digital, and then an actual copy of the game that you go to pick up at either Walmart, Best Buy, GameStop. When you get a physical copy, you actually get something that you can hold on to, whether it be a poster, a special controller, maybe it's a decal of some sort, it would seem that if you purchase a copy of the game, a physical copy, that it may come with more, but it also depends on what you want. Digital, I don't think that if they want, if for digital pre-orders, if they want to, even though it's convenient, if they want more people to pre-order more, not saying that there is any lack in those numbers,
Now,
but
when you say they, who you're talking about? You're
the
talking about.
consumer,
Okay.
yeah, us as the consumer,
Okay.
because I know that there is really no reason that really it's a must-have title that I would pre-order, because there's nothing that they're giving me that I can, that I can't live without. So it would have to be, I would have to go, if I would pre-order, I would probably go with physical copy because there's actually something tangible there.
Okay. To your point, I would agree. In most instances, I do. Well, let me just say this: I do pre-order games more so just to. It's like my way of budgeting to make sure that I have the money in that moment for the game, rather than the day the game comes out and then I forgot to like budget for the game. You know what I mean? So I do it that way. But in most cases, like you said, I don't think I needed to pre-order. I don't feel like what I get in return for the pre-order is necessarily worth it. Preloading the game early doesn't work for me. With the digital content like that you get, if I don't feel it's impactful enough, then, or if I don't feel like it's special or exclusive enough, if I don't feel like the weight is equal to my loyalty, because that's where my mind goes with pre-ordering. I'm buying in because I trust your product, because I trust your company, or because I trust your retailer over another, regardless of who my loyalty is to, whether it's the store or to the developer. Usually it's a combination of both. I still want my loyalty to be valued. So when I get content that I feel isn't equal to the loyalty that I'm placing in the product, then I feel like it was a waste. The last pre-order that I was like satisfied and ecstatic about was probably for Tekken 7, and I pre-ordered like the Master Collection edition. I went all out for that one. They had only limited quantities on Amazon, I believe, where I picked it up from, and it came with the steelbook edition of the game. It came with a whole entire soundtrack with the game. It came with the season pass. It came with a Heihachi and Kazuya 12-inch statue of them fighting. I got a regular copy of the game. I got the fight stick to go along with it because I was so ready for the game. So that was the only time I really felt that I got a lot. And on top of the pre-order, because it came with the season pass, I was still receiving the benefits of that pre-order package, because after those first couple skins that they give you, it's like, here's a character, here's another character, here's some skins, here's some extra stuff, they will always give you a little something along the way to remind you, hey, we still remember what you did, and here's how we're rewarding you for your loyalty and for supporting our product. But I feel like a lot of times companies don't do that. Either they don't care, they just want
Yeah,
just
yeah.
want the pre-order numbers to come in to have something to
Hmm.
show their higher ups, and to cross their T's on making sure that they're meeting, at least breaking even on what they spent to develop the game. But
Now,
obviously
quick
they want
question.
more than that.
Quick question. Back to the Tekken 7 pre-order.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is a lit pre-order right
Yeah,
there.
it is.
Now, tell us, was that a physical copy or digital copy?
No, that was physical.
Okay, see,
Just because it came
see,
with a
see.
steelbook, so yeah, and it's
So,
sick too.
and if you don't mind, what was the price?
Oh, I don't know. It was more than $100. I'll say that much.
Okay, so that's not even
And
digital because they
and
weren't.
and on that note, I will say it was worth it, just because when I picked up that pre-order, like maybe 2 or 3 days later, they were gone. And then when people came over to my house to play Tekken 7, and they saw the statue, they saw the steelbook, they saw I had all the, because it was the soundtracks to all the previous Tekken games. So when they saw how I was customizing my stages with the music from the other games, and when they saw the statue and the steelbook and the fight stick, everybody's like, "Yo, where'd you get that? Oh, I want to pick that up." Sorry, you can't. It's all gone. You missed it. Sorry, can't help you. Next time maybe. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? And that was a good feeling, because It's like, yo, where was your loyalty at? You know what I mean? You knew the game was coming out like I knew. And, I went ahead and I cashed in on my loyalty and I got rewarded for it. And now I got something exclusive. Now I got something to be proud of. Something, it's like, I'm proud that I bought the game. I'm proud that I got rewarded for it. And I'm proud that I can show it off now to other people. You know what I mean? So it's a good feeling. But I feel like a lot of times and this is, when did Tekken 7 come out? What, 2017?
Yeah.
So it's been 2 years since, well, almost 2 years since I felt like that. And I almost don't expect to get anything back in return for pre orders anymore. Again, it's more for my peace of mind. Like, oh, I don't have to worry about not having the money later to pick up the copy or whatever. It's like I can just do it now while it's in my mind before I forget about it later. And then I've already budgeted for it. I don't have to, worry about something later. But I'm not expecting to get anything back. If I do, it's nice, but more often than not, it's not something I'm excited about. It's like, oh, I got a costume that doesn't do much. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you
Hmm.
have a different set of clothes on that doesn't change anything about the game other than how you look. So it's like, okay, sure. But if it was, an outfit that had abilities attached to it, or there were some quirky functions associated with it, or nobody else was going to get it and you weren't going to release it later on the deluxe version, or you weren't going to sell it later as some side part of DLC that you can microtransaction for later, that doesn't do it for me.
And I understand that completely. There aren't many games that give you that make the pre-order worth it when you purchase. Other than Rockstar, Rockstar does a pretty good job, I believe, because with the pre-order of Grand Theft Auto 5 when it was new, they were giving you options on getting this the in-game currency
See, I don't know about that.
and season passes for what they. I mean, it depends on what you're into.
Right, because the in-game currency thing, I'm assuming it's only for the multiplayer aspect. So if you're not looking to play GTA Online, which it's become its own entity outside of the
Hmm.
main game,
True.
I can see how that wouldn't apply. Also, the only other game I will say, I didn't pre-order it, but I saw that they had a nice pre-order package, that they did something exclusive, similar to Tekken 7, was with Persona 5, and they had like a special backpack that they gave you. I think they gave you like a plushie toy of one of the characters. You got a soundtrack. I think you got a comic book. You got some other interesting like alternate art pieces and stuff like that, collector's items, which I thought was pretty dope. But I didn't buy it, but I saw that and I was like, oh, that's cool to see somebody else doing something that's not, the regular humdrum of, oh, you pre-ordered, here is nothing, or here's a skin.
Now, for upcoming pre-orders that I would be interested in, uh, both digital and physical, would have to be Bloodborne 2. With Bloodborne, I would say that be mainly a physical copy. I would want to see what they offer you for for pre-ordering a physical copy of that.
It'd be, I wouldn't put my money on them having something flashy for a pre-order or a collector's edition, but I could be wrong. I'd argue that as of my knowledge right now, there aren't any titles coming out in 2019 that I'm itching to pre-order. Again, there's probably some announcements that I missed. There's probably, we still have E3 coming up this year. We can get some surprises, but as far as the big titles that I know about coming out this year, as far as what's already been announced and predicted for coming out this year, I don't think I'm looking to pre-order anything for the rest of 2019. Now that Red Dead is out, now that Kingdom Hearts is out, now that Resident Evil 2 is out, I don't think I'll be pre-ordering anything else. I could be wrong. I might eat my words later. Let that be the day. But even so, I'm still not having that expectation of getting my money's worth, even if I do pre-order. You know what I mean?
I get you, but there are two titles for me. The first one is Samurai Spirits, The Return of Samurai Showdown.
Oh, okay,
I'm about that action.
okay,
Okay,
fair
I'm
enough.
about that action. I want to see what they have to offer people who are looking for that series to return. And then I say again, Sekiro.
We'll see what they do. I don't want to rain on your parade, but I wouldn't have high hopes in your shoes. So we briefly mentioned it earlier. What's your take on pre-orders providing access to betas or early access periods, alphas even of upcoming games?
Well, for me, that depends on who it's coming from as far as the title, because I've had a bad experience with that. I purchased a game called Interstellar Marines.
How long ago was this?
This was back in, when did this game drop? Let's say as early as 2012.
Okay.
Now it was an early access pre-order that would give you access to the game while they were continuing to, to work on it. The thing is they stopped production on it.
Ouch.
You took the risk, buying the game, and they just completely just fell off of all production. Stopped updating. The update that they did have, it was terrible. They had a lot of promises in the beginning. One of the selling points that they made for the game, it's a first-person shooter working off of the Half-Life engine. It looked great. It was different, nothing like it. So a lot of the people who purchased were looking, what would become of the game in the later stages. They promised land sharks. There were these pictures of sharks with legs, and they looked devilish, dude. It was going to be awesome. Land sharks never came, but that's all that ever became of it. Community started falling off. People gave up on the game. I did myself. I left a very bad comment on the store page because they just ceased any type of work on the game. They returned later and continued work on the game and continued with more updates. This was back in 2017, 2018 as well.
So they took a whole 5 years off?
They took some time off. Now, one of the things that the developer said was that he had to pretty much shelf any type work on the game because he was trying to work a job as well as keep people working on the game. He had to release the people that he initially started the project with. So that's a very realistic side to buying a pre-order or pre-ordering an early access title. A lot of the people who were still there would go back and check from time to time. I would myself because of how much money I put into it, and being very salty, I'd go to see if anything had happened.
Right.
Because the developer never did completely call off the project as far as posting it officially. So there was always a chance that something would happen. But that is one of the downsides of that. Now, what I did, I paid for. They were giving you the version I paid for was a Spearhead edition, which gives you a crap load of weapons that you would otherwise have to unlock. Your name would be listed in the credits.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I mean there was substantial amount of lure to lure you into buying it, and I did. So I don't see any of that happening now because I doubt that it'll ever be finished, honestly. But that is one of my bad experiences as far as pre-ordering and early access. So it is a risky thing for the consumer when they do it unless you know what this title is.
So wholly, for me personally, I'm against betas in general, and I'll get into why in a second. But just to back up a little bit, I categorize betas into three groups. There's open betas, which are available to everybody regardless of platform, regardless of timing. It's everybody can get in, everybody can try it. There's private betas that you gain access through a registration process or some peripheral subscription service. And then there's locked betas that you can only access if you pre-order the content. Regardless of the category, I don't like betas, but especially when it comes to private or locked betas. Overall, I feel that betas need to be done away with, especially in the method that they're used now, which is for the most part used as bait for a consumer to pre-order content.
I agree.
Now, I'm sure there are people that enjoy or don't mind betas largely because they allow you to try before you buy. But I think the answer to that, or the substitute for that, is that every game, but primarily those that offer pre-orders, should have a free demo. Now you might ask, what's the difference between a beta and a demo? For me, again, my gut or my philosophy is that a demo is a slice of a finished product, a crafted sequence of a game that provides the consumer necessary information or a taste of gameplay that they'll need to answer or quell any doubts they might have about buying the game or satisfy the curiosity they might have to try a title that they're unfamiliar with. And as an added note, my definition and expectation of a demo is that it's offered indefinitely and for free on whichever online store your platform has available, be it Steam, Microsoft, PlayStation Store, etc. Beta, on the other hand, to me, offers limited access to a product that's still in development. As such, they can contain bugs, other functional mishaps that presumably won't appear in the final version, but that isn't always a guarantee. A beta doesn't always showcase the unique features of the title or the core defining aspects of the genre, but will offer a hodgepodge of superficial gameplay. Betas have a determined amount of time that they'll run for before they become unavailable, and as I mentioned previously, they have varying degrees of access depending on what type of consumer you are. Now, I'm sure there's developers that would hate what I propose or what I'm thinking, but I think it deserves consideration. Betas are more favored than evergreen demos because developers won't have to allocate resources to support an offshoot of their product for an extended period of time. Although that's a fair justification, I'd argue that you have more of an opportunity to snag additional game sales over the lifespan of your product with an evergreen demo. Even in one of the most isolated scenarios, consumers are buying consoles almost religiously around the last quarter of the year or the holiday season. That means you potentially have a new audience of console owners to try and make appeal to for new sales. Now, if you couple a demo or a discounted price on the game in the second or third year of your game's lifespan, I think you'd have more opportunities for new consumers and new sales to come about during your game's lifespan. Without that, you won't have opportunity, or just with betas, you don't get those opportunities to get additional sales over time, because if you miss the window, that's it. And then you're just judging the game for yourself based on other people's opinions, be they your friends, other consumers, or media outlets reviewing the game. And that doesn't always help solve or put you at ease, because, there's been times myself where I wanted to try a beta or early access for a game and I missed the window, and then all I had to rely on was other people, and they were like, oh, it was all right, oh, it was cool. I would ask them, are you going to get it? They're like, maybe, yeah, probably. Then the game comes out, they don't get it. So I'm like, okay, now I'm looking at all the reviewers to get their opinions. And they're like, yeah, it's solid, it's okay, yeah, it's good. And then I get it for myself, and I just didn't enjoy myself at all. And I was like, well, had there been a demo instead of an open beta, then I would have had more time or more of an opportunity to try out the game and make my own determinations, be it buy the game, this is for you, or not. Or I could have been like, hey, you like these kind of games, you should try this game because there's a demo and I can refer you to this, instead of, oh man, you really like games like this? Well, you should have tried this beta that they had 5 months ago that you can't get access to, but you have to trust me and what I'm telling you to buy the game, because I'm guessing I think I know what you like, but you might not really enjoy it. So I think moving forward, betas need to be done away with, and demos should be the new move for all titles coming out in 2019 and onward. Even to bring back your example with Resident Evil did a demo for Resident Evil 7. Everybody got hype, everybody was into it, everybody was playing it multiple times to figure out all the secrets. People were on YouTube making videos, they were showing off the content. The game came out, it was received well, people enjoyed it. They were like, Resident Evil finally came back to their roots, and everybody had a good time. Then here comes Resident Evil 2. They did another demo. Everybody did the same thing. Everybody had fun. They ran around trying to explore as much as they could, even though what I didn't like was that it was timed and you can only play it once, I believe, and then you had like a 30-minute window to complete the demo. People, they still offered the demo and everybody had access to it. Everybody got to enjoy the content, get a taste of all the elements of the game before making their final decision up until the release day. So if every game, and this when I say every game, I'm probably excluding companies that are indies or startups, smaller companies. I'm not really talking to them as much. If they have the means, then they should. But primarily, I'm talking to the AAA studios, and everybody else in between that large range. If you have the means, if you have more than the means, you should definitely produce a demo and have it living on some online platform that you can offer indefinitely to consumers so that they have a chance to experience your game, make their own determinations, and then possibly buy your product or possibly refer somebody else to buy your product, and then you'll have a happy customer.
I agree with that completely. It seems that in days, companies have gotten away from that, far away from that. I remember being younger and getting these gaming magazines, and there would be demo
Exactly.
discs.
Exactly. You used to get hyped. Like, I won't lie. I used to
Exactly.
go to little computer stores and I would look for the gaming magazines and I would rip them devils off the back of the magazines because I didn't want to pay for it. Nobody told me, God don't strike me. But I used to get hyped for. I still have some of those demo discs to this day that I never threw away. Games that had like Toy Story and Army Men and NBA Live 98 and all these kinds of games. Like, I enjoyed them so much because I got a little taste of this game, a little taste of that game, a little taste of this, and I could have that forever and I could make my own determinations. And it gave me a reason, even though what I should have been doing was buying the magazine, but gave me a reason to go to the store. So if I didn't end up with a copy of the magazine, I was probably picking something else up. And
That's
then
right.
it was sporting the magazine itself, and I was getting access to all these demos that I was making myself aware of games coming out or games that were already out that I didn't know about. Is getting exposure and playtime with those games, and people just don't do it anymore.
And I think it's sad that they don't do that anymore. Also, I think that putting a demo out of your game shows the confidence in your product.
It shows that you have a finished product too.
That too. But more mainly confidence, because Capcom knew that that this title was going to be, that it was done right. They were anxious to see people's reaction
Yeah, they
to
were
this
styling.
game that they knew
Yeah,
they nailed.
they were
So,
styling for sure.
oh yeah,
I mean, they're being, well, Resident Evil 2's being deemed one of the best, if not the best, remake slash reboot of all time ever, and that's arguable, obviously, but you
right,
can
right.
kind of concede or see where they're coming from when people say those kinds of things.
I've enjoyed myself immensely playing that game.
And matter of fact, they just announced the Ghost Stories, which is DLC. I'm not sure if it's free or not, but there's 3 more additional campaigns or side stories, whatever you want to call them, that you can play for it right now.
Okay. I mean, even if it were to cost something, I'd pay it because I'm
Exactly.
happy with that product.
Look at Capcom doing their thing. How far we've come.
Yes, yes, especially from Street Fighter,
Exactly. I mean, let's see what
which
happens with
was
y'all
pretty
this
much
year.
which
Let's,
was pretty much it was sold as a free game, but it was a beta.
man, that was probably my worst experience in recent time. Was Street Fighter. I don't think I pre-ordered it, but I bought it the day of release,
I did
and
too.
and I did not have fun with that. There wasn't a story mode for all the characters. The home menu was like a mess. There wasn't all the they showed you options for all the different modes that they were gonna add later, but they just had it there grayed out. It's like you couldn't pick it, you couldn't find out more about it, but it's like we're gonna put stuff here. We're not sure what it is yet. We're not fleshing it out right now, but here's our plan of where we want to be, but we're not here yet, and we're not going to tell you when we're going to get to this point. But if you stick
Mhm.
around for 4 months, you might get rewarded for being so patient. I'm like, no, I paid $60 for a full game, and you gave me a 45% complete product.
Yeah,
It's
I was so unhappy with it, and then online didn't even work right away.
exactly. Never mind the fact that they always have issues with their online, and it takes them another 6 to 8 months to figure that out.
Yep, and which they have yet to fix. There has been no netcode fix, and there's been no talk of it happening. But I'm going to cut them a break.
Yeah, they're doing good with this at least. They're doing good with Resident Evil, so they can chill for a little bit.
But I'd like to say
You better
to
not
we
show up
the
at Evo.
consumer. Oh, you know they'll be there. To we the consumer, we have many rights that we don't use, and we also we have a lot of say so. We have a lot of power in what happens next on these future titles. Our reaction and what we do, whether it is playing the game, comment, taking to social media and saying what we dislike and like, we play a role in future titles. So one of the things that I'd like the listeners to do is start demanding demos, finish demos of these games, so that you're not taking a needless risk when you dump $60 of your hard-earned funds into a title. These developers and publishers do not get to cheat us or gyp us out of $60 for a title they're desperate to make money off of. That must be earned, as well as trust and so on. So that's all.
Yeah,
The only thing I wanted to say.
I would add to that and say companies, developers, stop giving exclusive access to games. Stop making private servers for big name Twitch and YouTube streamers. When you do that, you're putting all your eggs in a basket. You're telling everybody, you're assuming that this title is going to be well received by that person. When that doesn't happen, what do you think happens? They don't buy the game. Their followers don't buy the game. They troll the product. It makes you look bad. Why not release a demo for the public and they can make up their own minds about what their experiences are rather than relying on somebody that may just troll your product just because of who you are or what follies you might have made in the past, or just because they see the streamer complaining about one aspect of the game and then they just take that opportunity to troll you for forever and not give your product an actual shot. Why put the success of your product in somebody else's hands when you can just put yourself at an even playing field rather than assuming you're going to get favorable bias because you're doing somebody a favor by giving them something exclusive that everybody else doesn't have access to? Why not give us all the same access, and then you can get a better gauge of how people feel about your game. You can get a better gauge of whether people are going to pre-order or not. You'll have that many more people discovering bugs or discovering issues that they're experiencing, whether or not your game is finished or not at that point. It's only going to help you more than hurt you. I just don't see the advantage in giving 10 people access to your beta or your private server to showcase a game and then they have a terrible experience and then you look stupid. Like why risk that? Just give us something finished, give it access to everybody, have people fill out surveys at the end of the game, email them, whatever you got to do, even if it doesn't pop up on the screen afterwards, and then you can get real-time feedback, information, be it a troll or not. If people take the time to fill out the survey, then they got something to say and they want you to hear about it. It means that they care about you as a developer, or they care about the product or the entry in the series. So why not?
Well said. What would you say to consumers and developers about early access?
Again, I'm anti beta everything.
Okay.
I don't Early access doesn't bother me as much, but I feel like early access is slowly but surely like turning into like stress tests for the games, and I hate that too. I don't mind it if it's tied to like a special edition of a pre-order, but if you're again, it just that still feels dirty. It doesn't feel good because what's 4 days, in the lifespan of owning a game? It's like you got 4 extra days, or may not have 4 extra days with playing the game as somebody else. It just doesn't feel good. It might feel good prior to release, but after release, you're not gonna still be excited about those 4 early days that you had.
Right.
So I'm not with it.
I because of Paragon. See, there have been a lot of
There we go.
early access titles I've played. I am about the early access. I will give it a chance. I will even put money into it if I like it.
I mean, a lot of people put
And
money
it's
into that.
easy.
So,
It's
yeah.
easy for me to spot when you're using me, and it's easy for me to spot when you're taking people playing your
hold
early
on.
access title seriously.
Hold on. Okay. I think I misunderstood you. So the early access you're talking about is for a product that's not finished. I was
Exactly.
speaking on early access on a product that's already finished. So, what's an example? Let's say Kingdom Hearts 4 is coming out. It's not. This is just an example. Nobody get crazy. Kingdom Hearts 4 is coming out tomorrow. The game's already complete, but if you pre-order it right now, you get to play the game 4 days early than release.
Okay.
That was the early access that I thought you were talking about, not
Oh no.
a game in development. Okay. So I want to clarify what I was talking about. I was talking about when games tell you to pre-order a certain edition or just to pre-order in general, just to play 4 to 5 days or a week before everyone else that didn't pre-order. That stuff I'm not with. Early access for games in development, I'm cool with that. I'm down because those are kind of,
Okay.
as long as they're
Okay.
free.
I should have said in
Yeah,
development.
no. Sorry. As long as they're free, I'm down with it. If they make you pay, then it's hard because then you get into the situations like you experienced where you put money in and then it didn't work out for you. Not that it worked out for people that played Paragon, but at least the access was free ish. Unless you got, if you got a founder's pack, but still, for the most part, it was free. That I'm fine with, 100%.
Okay.
All right, everyone, we're going to end up episode there. Let us know how you feel about pre-orders, demos, betas. We want to hear it in the comments below. We'll be sure to respond to you. Make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on Twitter @NotEntertain. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Sayonara.